I gathered facts about prisons you lived peacefully without, but now that will not be possible anymore because some of them sound like complete nonsense, and some are worse than any prison. In 2006 Brazil, one prisoner decided to escape. The plan was strange, but it almost worked. He disguised himself as his wife, who came to visit him. A wig, a dress, makeup, and he calmly walked toward the exit. The guards almost suspected nothing, until the woman started walking far too confidently and far too fast. It is believed that his nerves and the way he walked gave him away, because high heels are a completely different level of difficulty. The escape failed, but his wife was probably in shock. In one prison in the United States, they forgot to release a prisoner. Yes, literally. He had fully served his sentence. All the documents were ready, but because of a bureaucratic mistake, they kept him locked up anyway. A day passed, then a week, then more. It is believed that the staff simply lost part of the paperwork between departments, and the man kept sitting there even though he should have already been home. When they finally noticed the mistake, they released him. But there was just one problem: the lost time was never given back. In one prison in Brazil, the inmates were offered a strange deal. For every book they read, their sentence was reduced. Yes, officially. You read a book, write a short review, and get a few days taken off your time. It is believed that this helped people learn and reduced aggression, so some read for self-improvement and others for early release. That is some serious motivation. In one prison in Japan, inmates are punished with silence. Unnecessary talking, emotions, and any sudden movements are forbidden. Everything follows a schedule: perfectly straight beds, perfectly folded clothes, perfectly quiet behavior. It is believed that discipline there matters more than anything, but there is a catch. For many people, a few months of that silence is harder than shouting and noise. Sometimes the harshest thing is not pain, but emptiness. In one prison in the Philippines, inmates were forced to dance. Yes, in massive groups. Hundreds of people were brought into the yard, music was turned on, and they performed synchronized movements. Videos of it later spread across the internet for the whole world to see. It is believed that the administration used it to maintain discipline and physical fitness, but it looked less like a prison and more like a very strange flash mob. Sometimes reality sounds like a parody. In one prison in the United States, a prisoner was running a business right from his cell. He had a hidden phone, access to people outside, and a full ordering system. He was selling things he had never even seen himself. It is believed that some prisons were unable for a long time to stop contraband phones from getting inside. So the man was sitting behind bars and still working better than many people on the outside. In one prison in Russia, a prisoner kept a cat with him. Officially, animals were not allowed there, but somehow the cat lived inside the block for months. Almost everyone fed him, and even the guards looked the other way. It is believed that animals inside prisons greatly calm people and reduce aggression. So in the end, everyone knew the cat, and he was possibly the only one there who was truly respected. In one old prison in France, the cells were so small that a person could not lie down at full length, even if he really wanted to. The room was so short that inmates had to sleep sitting up or half curled against the wall, and even turning around properly was difficult. It was believed that a prisoner should feel absolutely no comfort, so even sleep was turned into part of the punishment. But there is a catch. When a person goes for weeks without proper sleep, weakness begins, irritation grows, and then the mind starts to break. Sometimes the walls become smaller than the punishment itself. In one prison system in the United States, inmates worked as firefighters. Yes, really. They were trained to fight wildfires, given uniforms, and sent to the most dangerous zones. It is believed that the state saved millions of dollars that way, because that labor cost less. Some were paid less than $2 a day, but there is a catch. And after release, many were still banned from becoming firefighters. So while you were locked up, you were needed, but once you were free, not anymore. In one prison in Germany, inmates had keys to their cells. Yes, real keys. During the day, many could open and close their own doors, go to work, study, or move through common areas. It is believed that the system there focuses on trust and preparing people for normal life, not only on harsh control, because if a person will one day return outside, they still have to learn how to live without a guard behind them. But there is a catch. If someone tries to escape, the conditions change fast. So they give you trust until you break it yourself. In one prison in the United States, a prisoner finished his sentence and still remained inside. Yes, literally. According to the documents, he should have been released several months earlier. But because of a paperwork mistake, the case got stuck between departments. One thought everything was completed, another thought a third person was handling it, and the man simply kept sitting there. It is believed that mistakes like this happen more often than people think because of an overloaded system. But there is a catch. When everything came to light, they gave him the usual sorry. No one returned those months of life. Sometimes the strongest bars are bureaucracy. In one prison in South America, inmates ran a market inside. Yes, a real one. Cigarettes could buy food. Food could buy clothes. Clothes could buy services. Some had their own stores, debts, and even protection. It is believed that when official supplies are not enough, people still create their own economy because rules change, but trade does not. But there is a catch. If you did not repay a debt on time, the interest there could be far harsher than any bank. Sometimes, behind bars, the market moves faster than it does outside. In one prison in Italy, inmates were allowed to cook their own food. Yes, by themselves. In some blocks, they had small kitchens, stoves, and scheduled access to ingredients. It was believed that ordinary daily life skills help a person not completely fall out of normal life. Because after release, if you cannot even cook dinner, starting over becomes harder. But there is a catch. Arguments over salt, pots, and who ate everything again never disappeared. So even in prison, people still manage to live like roommates in a dorm. Sometimes freedom begins with knowing how to boil pasta. In one prison in the United States, a prisoner won an art competition. Yes, while sitting in his cell. He painted everything he had not seen in a long time. Streets, the ocean, an ordinary sky without bars. His works were sent to a city contest, and at first no one even knew who the artist was. It is believed that creativity inside prisons is often used as therapy, so a person does not break completely. And do you know the strangest part? He took first place. So a man behind bars painted freedom better than those who saw it every day. Sometimes talent does not ask for an address. In one prison in Sweden, inmates were allowed to study at a university. Yes, officially. Some took courses, passed exams, and earned degrees while serving their time. It was believed that if a person leaves with a profession and knowledge, the chance of returning becomes lower, because work on the outside is usually more useful than a cell on the inside. But there is a catch. While someone on the outside keeps delaying education for years, someone behind bars is already passing finals. Sometimes people begin to change far too late, and sometimes exactly where you least expect it. In one prison in the United States, a prisoner sued the prison itself. The reason was strange. He complained that the food was too good. Yes, exactly that. According to him, he started gaining weight quickly, which meant the institution was harming his health. It is believed the lawsuit was an attempt to get compensation or simply attract attention. But the fact remains. The man was sitting behind bars and complaining that they fed him too well. Sometimes people's problems sound like their own genre of comedy. In one prison in the United States, an inmate decided to file a lawsuit against the system itself. The reason sounded strange. He was denied access to Wi-Fi. Yes, literally. He claimed that the internet is no longer a luxury, but a basic necessity. That without it, it is impossible to properly study, access information, or stay connected to the outside world. It is believed he argued for the right to information in the age of technology. But here is the catch. The court did not agree, because a prison is still a place where restrictions are part of the punishment. In the end, the case was dismissed. A man was sitting behind bars and demanding internet access. Sometimes people's sense of reality gets a little blurred. In one prison in India, inmates were forbidden to laugh. Even smiling without a reason was not allowed. If guards noticed someone laughing, whispering, or acting too freely, it was treated as a violation of discipline. The reason sounded strange, but made sense within the system. It was believed that laughter could be seen as mockery, provoke conflicts, or even serve as a hidden signal between inmates. So any unnecessary display of emotion was tightly controlled, meaning you are sitting in a cell, and even if something is genuinely funny, you had better not show it. Sometimes in prison, it is not just your actions that are controlled, but your face too. In one prison in the United States, inmates were paying for space. Yes, like rent. Inside, there was an unofficial system. The better the cell, the higher the price. More space, fewer people, and quieter neighbors. It is believed these deals were arranged through other inmates or informal leaders. Sometimes even access to a safer area came at a cost. So even behind bars, a hierarchy formed, where comfort was not a standard, but a privilege. And yeah, if you do not pay, your conditions can change fast. Some systems work the same everywhere. In one prison in Japan, inmates were punished for the way they walked. Yes, literally, every day followed a strict routine: how to walk, how to hold your posture, where to look, how to place your feet. If someone walked too casually, swung their arms, or stepped out of line, it was considered a violation. Guards could stop them, issue a warning, or assign punishment. The idea was that discipline had to be absolute, not just in actions, but in the smallest details, meaning you are just walking, and even your steps have to follow the rules. Sometimes control begins with movement. In one prison in Brazil, an inmate tried to escape by leaving a dummy in his place. Yes, he made a mannequin out of whatever he could find. Clothes, towels, and even something like a head made from fabric. He carefully placed it in his bed and covered it with a blanket, making it look like he was just sleeping. At night, guards checked the cells and did not suspect a thing. It is believed the trick worked for several hours. But there was a catch. The dummy did not breathe. During the next check, guards noticed that the person was far too still. They pulled off the blanket and everything became clear. The escape did not last long. Sometimes a plan is almost perfect, until you forget the simplest detail.